Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. Today we will start with the basic principles of pharmacology, and first of all we will see what pharmacology means. Pharmacology is the study of substances that interact with living organisms, and this interaction with living organisms occur via some chemical processes, and these chemical processes basically are mediated by binding of these chemicals with the regulatory molecules. Upon binding of the substances with the regulatory molecules, normal body processes are either activated or they are inhibited, and by activation or inhibition of these normal body processes we will achieve a therapeutic effect. Now, the substances that we are administering, these are chemicals. They may be administered to achieve a beneficial therapeutic effect simple by a process that a drug is given to a patient and we will achieve a particular therapeutic effect by killing the bacteria. And these chemicals might be used for their toxic effects. For example, some drugs are given to the patients, and these drugs basically affect the regulatory processes of the in the parasites that are present inside human. So by affecting the parasites, by affecting the regulatory processes of the parasites, they are actually exerting toxic effects, and this toxic effect is appearing as a therapeutic effect for the patient. So this is the actual role of the medical pharmacology, which is sometimes or often described simply by the science of substances used to prevent, diagnose, and treat diseases. Toxicology is basically it deals with the undesirable effects of the chemicals on the living system, and these undesirable effects range from individual cells to complex ecosystems in our environment. This is called toxicology. So if we talk about the history of pharmacology, we will find the ancient records from China and Egypt, and these are basically the ancient civilizations. And yes, there are some remedies or there are some medicines which they call some traditional type medicines that are still recognized useful nowadays. Now, there is basically a dominance of a system of thought, and that system of thought basically tried to explain all of the biology of the disease without the need of experimentation. It means that no rational methods to check about the validity of the medicines, about the therapeutic actions of the medicines were made in the past, and only a system of thought that this drug A can perform this function and this drug B can perform this function was prevalent in the Asian record some 2500 years back. So at the end of 17th century, the concept of theorizing the medicine began to fade away, following the example of some physical sciences, and some reliability on observation and experimentation, or you can say simply the rationalization start to occur. And first record, that is Materia Medica, that is the science of drug preparation and medical use of drugs. It begins to develop, and this Materia Medica basically began to develop, and this Materia Medica was the precursor of the modern pharmacology, based upon the theories, based upon the things that were recorded in this Materia Medica. The modern day pharmacology came into being, and in this occurred during the late 18th and 19th century. And the two scientists who are actually teacher and student, that is Magendie, that is Francois Magendie and Claude Bernard. They basically started develop the methods of experimental animal physiology and pharmacology. Later on, the advances in chemistry and further developments in physiology, and these events occur in history in 18th, 19th, and earlier 20th centuries. These developments in physiology and chemistry laid the foundation which is needed for the understanding of how actually drug works at organ level and at tissue level. The real advances in basic pharmacology. What was the real advancement in basic pharmacology? It was to accurately evaluate the therapeutic claims and how these therapeutic claims were evaluated. There were two concepts that were basically designed, and these concepts were, the first one is the concept of rational therapeutics, and second was of controlled clinical trials. So these two concepts basically laid the foundation for the advancement in basic pharmacology. Obviously, this real advancement in basic pharmacology was accompanied by some unfair means, that was some unscientific promotion that occurred by some manufacturers by so-called their patent claims. But however, this was the basic advancement in advancement in pharmacology, and you can see that major expansion of research efforts in all areas of biology that occur during the last 50 to 100 years. And if we talk about specifically about the drugs, fundamentally new drug groups or the new members of the old drug groups were also introduced during the last 50 years, last half century. Today, molecular mechanisms or simply the mechanism of actions of many drugs are identified, and various receptors have been isolated, and these receptors are also structurally characterized, and even some of these receptors are also cloned. And this identification of receptors, the methodology of identifying the receptors, had led to the discovery of many orphan receptors. Orphan receptors are the receptors for which no ligand has been discovered yet, and whose functions are only surmised. So, this is the basic advancement that occurred in pharmacology. Today, we can say that receptors and effectors do not work in isolation. In isolated conditions, receptors and effectors are nothing. They are strongly influenced by their by the proteins, which we called regulatory proteins. So these receptors and effectors basically interact with each other with the help of these regulatory proteins. And today we have decoded genomes of many species. We have decoded the genomes of bacteria, and decoded the genome of humans, and these decoding had led to the recognition of unsuspected relationships between receptor families. This encoding has helped us that we are in a condition that we are saying that there is no suspicion regarding the relationships between receptor families, and a new emerging field, that is pharmacogenomics, is emerging. That is simply the relation of an individual genetic makeup to his or her response to a specific drugs. That is, and it is becoming a practical area of the therapy, that every person, every individual human being, male, female, will act differently, will respond differently to a particular drug, and this response to that particular drug will be evaluated on the basis of the genetic makeup. There is a group of people or a segment of public that assume that all adverse effects are basically a result of malpractice, and the malpractice, they assume that is the basic the latest approach of therapeutics. Though so this is because of their lack of the absence of critical thinking in those people, and the lack of understanding of the basic principles of biology, and the basic principles of statistics. That is why they are claiming these type of assumptions, that all adverse effects are actually the result of malpractice. But there are only two general principles that must always be remembered, and these two general principles are that all substances can, under certain circumstances, be toxic. Number one, and number two is that all therapies that are promoted as health enhancing should meet the same standards of evidence of efficacy and safety. It means simply means that if a certain compound is producing a therapeutic effect in the body, and a drug is basically inhibiting some bacteria inside the body, but at some concentration, at increased concentration, this drug can be toxic for the human body also, for the human cells also. And the second point is that every health enhancing product that should meet the same criteria. There should be no demarcation, that there should be no separation um in checking the efficacy and safety of the product by claiming that it is an alternative or it is a complementary medicines, and it should not fall under the criteria of strict criteria of medicine, and it can be marketed without those standards that are met by the simple allopathic drugs. So these are the two bases, these are the two principles that must always be remembered. As we have discussed before, that genomes have been decoded, genomes of human bacteria are decoded, likewise genome of mice are decoded, and this decoding of genetic material has the door opened the door of new approaches for research and development and treatment of different diseases. And now we also know that there are some diseases that are inherited, and this heritable abnormality is present in the DNA, and we can exactly define that which DNA base pairs are anomalous, and in which chromosome there is some abnormality, that is the inherited abnormality. And now we have a chance, now we have a thing to possibly correct this abnormality, and the thing that can help that can possibly help in overcoming these type of abnormality is called gene therapy. Simply insertion of an appropriate healthy gene in the somatic cells, and this is gene therapy. So basically, decoding of genome has opened new horizons for the therapeutics. This new genetic technique has another application, and that is the ability to breed animals. The animals used for this purpose are mice. Simply, we can what we do, simply genes for a receptor or a genes for its endogenous ligand has been knocked out, and we called it simply mutation. That a particular gene product is absent, or that particular function is not present, that particular gene is actually non-functional in that mutated animal. These mutations may be homozygous or heterozygous. For example, in homozygous knockout model, mice will usually have complete suppression of that trait. That trait will not appear in that mice, and heterozygous animal will usually have partial suppression. So this is a new technique, a new model, which is called knockout mice model. The application of these knockout model is that with the missing gene product means that a simple trait is missing in that mice model. We will observe the behavior, biochemistry, and physiology of that knockout mice model in the absence of that particular gene product. Sometimes it occurs that the heterozygotes do not survive to birth. So, in that condition, sometimes it is possible to breed knockdown versions with only limited suppression of the functions. And on the contrary, also knock-in mice models have been generated where some uh, receptors of interest were overexpressed in those mice models.